of a few different years here at MassArt. Thank you all so much for coming out. We're going to be talking today about our 2026 summer internship program. And for those of you who already have a 2026 spring internship registered, we can certainly get some questions about those answered as well. For everyone in the room, we're going to have a break partway through the session for everyone to get more cookies. So don't worry if you get hungry. And for everyone joining us via Zoom hybrid session, feel free to put any questions in the chat throughout the presentation, and we'll get to those during the Q&A at the end as well. Again, thank you all so much for joining. My name is Ben Benson. I am our Student and Program Support Manager here at MassArt Career Development, and I'm excited to show you all a little bit more about our internship program today. So today we're going to start off by going over just sort of an overview of the program, some tips for writing a resume, which is really basic building block of the internship application process. We'll also talk about the sort of timeline of the whole process, how to get an internship, resources for finding your internship. We'll touch on our upcoming career fair. We'll also talk about the possibility of $2,000 internship awards. Like I mentioned, there will be a cookie break, and then after that, we'll come back for a brief Q&A for anybody who has some burning questions that they want to ask while they're here. So let's get started talking a little bit about the internship program. And by the way, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, for those of you who are here in person, maybe just make a note of them, hold them in your mind, and then at the end, we'll have the Q&A to ask. So our internship program here at MassArt is a way for our students to get credit for an internship that they do. I mean, at a base level, everyone sort of understands an internship is a job that you do for more of a learning educational experience. And what we're able to offer is the ability to get class credit for that internship, 3 credits, as if it were literally a course in the semester that you take that internship, whether it's summer, fall, or spring. You do have to do an internship for credit. You do need to do it before graduating. And that's something to make clear is that, there's a lot of internships out there, but specifically what we're talking about today is doing an internship that you register for MassArt to get course credit for. And of those, you can do 1 to 2 during your time here. You can do those after completing sophomore year and all the way through any semester before you finish your senior year and you graduate, you're able to do internships. Some of our graduate students also can do internships. Typically, graduate students are going to do those after their first semester here at MassArt. So an internship, again, is a two-way street. It's not just something where you're doing work and that's kind of it, like a regular job, you're contributing to the company. The idea that sort of makes something an internship rather than a job or something like that is that the company is also going to be mentoring you and helping you achieve your career and educational goals. So, that can come in the form of pay. Some internships are paid, but the really important part of an internship is going to be that it has an educational aspect and that it is working to prepare you towards a career that you're interested in. And so the additional aspect to registering that internship means that in addition to that two-way street between you, the student, and the company and mentor, you're also working with mentors and faculty here at MassArt to make sure that the internship is a really fulfilling experience, that the employer is treating you well, and that the experience is working towards preparing you towards your educational goals, your career goals. And part of that, third element of MassArt is not only are you going to have some faculty mentorship as part of your internship experience, but you'll also have access to all of our resources and career development to help you throughout the internship process, whether that's finding an internship, applying, or even while you're working there, helping you navigate questions that you might come up across in the workplace. So again, A internship for credit is going to be something where there's a strong element of mentorship from a professional in an industry that's relevant to your degree path. Typically, it's going to be with an established company, an organization, or a studio practice. Now, folks might think of a traditional internship as something you do as like a company or a larger employer. And while often, that can be the case, because MassArt is MassArt, some folks want to work with like a working artist who might not have an organization, but they might have an established studio or an established artistic practice. You can do internships like that as well. An internship is also something that offers pre-professional training. So in addition to just sort of general mentorship, we want to make sure that you're able to continue building the skills you've learned here at MassArt that will help you succeed in your career down the line. So your internship, if registered and completed successfully, you'll earn 3 elective credits. Those are credited like any other course. And your internship, in order to sort of be registered, does require a minimum of 135 hours during that 15-week semester. With that, because the internship is being treated almost like a class, it does need to be aligned with the semester schedule. In terms of your week-to-week schedule, that's totally flexible. That's something that you'll sort of work out individually with whoever hires you, but it does need to be aligned with that semester schedule to be credited. And then you do have to meet a minimum amount of total hours. So when we're looking at those internship registrations, we're really looking for things, typically 10 hours a week or more, that are going to meet that minimum of 135 hours. For our students who are doing internships in the spring and fall, typically, because you'll be on campus here at MassArt, you're going to be looking at internships that are probably commuting distance from campus or remote, where you're going to be doing, maybe a smaller number of hours, something in the 10 to 20 hours per week range to do that alongside your coursework. Whereas some of our folks who are interning in the summer, it can be a little more flexible. You can work up to essentially full-time at an internship. And there's also more flexibility for those summer internships. You don't necessarily have to be close to campus. You can be anywhere within the United States for a summer internship. There's also some common questions people want to know about money. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of folks plan on working over the summer. A lot of times students come to me and they ask, well, do I need to choose between doing an internship and getting a summer job? And while in the past, it was more common to hear about unpaid internships, the great thing is more and more internships are recognizing that it's important to pay people for the work they do, even when there is that mentorship component. And so there's actually a ton of paid internships out there. When we are curating our own list of internships on Handshake, our MassArt job board, we actually focus and try to highlight as many paid internships as possible. The majority of those that we list ourselves on Handshake are paid, and a lot of times those actually pay more than the average day job you might find over the summer as a student. So it's really worth looking into the paid internship options out there. There's actually quite a few. That said, you can do a paid or unpaid internship for credit. The choice is really up to you in terms of finding things that meet both your interests and your needs in terms of what you need for a summer job or a part-time internship during the year. One quick note is that for BFA students, for undergraduate BFA students, there's no additional charge for summer internships for credit. If you do an internship for credit during the year, it's billed just as part of your sort of full-time tuition for your coursework. So essentially what this means is that for all of you BFA students, doing an internship for credit will not change the overall cost of attending MassArt as a full-time undergraduate student and graduating on time. It's not going to, in the vast majority of situations, alter that overall cost at all. So there are some deadlines that I do want to make you aware of. We'll touch on these a few times during this session just because they are really important to remember. If you can, write it down today, but if you can't, that's totally fine. We have these deadlines on our website. We also have them in our resource library on Handshake, which I'd certainly encourage you all to check out if you haven't yet. But We'll go over them today, and if you ever have trouble finding information about our deadlines, you can always reach out to us in career development. We'd be happy to help you. So for our deadlines, you need to register an internship before you start it, but also before the deadline. Those deadlines, the final deadline is typically going to be aligned with add drop for the semester in which you intend to do the internship. So for instance, for summer 2026, our final deadline to register an internship for credit is going to be June 15th. You'll see there's an earlier deadline there. And what that is for a $2,000 internship award. That's a financial aid award. I'll provide some more information about in a moment. But it's important to remember that while the official deadline to register for credit is always going to be sort of aligned with that add drop, there is going to be a deadline roughly a month earlier for those who are interested in being considered for the internship award. And the reason it's a month earlier is because there's no additional application for the internship award, but by getting in that application a little earlier, you allow yourself to be considered for some potential free money. It's also important to note that retroactive credit is not possible. So it is really important if you're doing an internship and you want credit for it, you do need to register for that credit in advance because, again, this is sort of processed and credited as if it were a class. Just like with classes, you have to be registered for them by that drop. So why should you register for credit? I mean, first of all, one reason is if you're going to do an internship anyway, a lot of people are, it's just an extra benefit to doing the internship. Or if you're not sure if you want to do an internship, it's just another reason why you should. In addition to granting you the credit for doing an internship, you also get additional support from MassArt. So like I said, you'll get support throughout the process from us here in career development, including during the duration of your internship. But it's also a more structured format where in addition to the typical support you might get from us and from your supervisor at your internship, you'll also be supported by faculty in your department who will make sure that the internship is sort of going as planned and meeting the requirements and giving you a valuable education. In addition, you get a lot of supervisor feedback and documentation, which can be really helpful down the line when you're applying for jobs and want to sort of prove your experience. It can be really helpful. It's almost like, critiques of your work to help you improve overall as you move into your sort of professional life after college. The other, advantage is, like I mentioned, there's this potential if you apply by the earlier deadline for a $2,000 internship award. Now, just like you can get credit whether or not the internship is paid or unpaid, you can also potentially earn the $2,000 internship award whether or not the internship is paid. All that you need to do, again, is submit your regular internship registration before that somewhat earlier deadline, and you also need to have a FAFSA on file, and then you'll be automatically considered for that award. The other reason for those who are F1 international students, if you want to do an internship, you do have to register that internship for credit in order to do an internship. So let's talk a little bit about the documentation you're going to need to get an internship, which is very similar to the process of applying to any typical job you might apply to. So we'll start with resumes. Anyone, just a show of hands, who has a resume already? Good. Okay, we have a ton of people who have resumes already. And of you all, have any of you come into career development to get your resume reviewed? Raise your hand. I see a couple of you. Well, I would encourage you all, when you have time, drop into career development. We're here at your convenience to visit as much or as little as you'd like to. But what we can do is proofread your resume, provide advice, help you with anything from the details to the formatting to how to save it as a PDF document, whatever you may need for writing a strong resume. We are here as a resource for you. So here's a basic overview of what we recommend for your resume draft. We do have a number of templates on our online career development resource library. You'll see the general format that we recommend is going to be something that's vertical with a few specific sections, including a header with your contact information, education, your experience, your skills. And we like this top-down format. And you want to think about your resume as something that's sort of a data document providing that base level information about you and your experience that an employer actually needs to know. And so you'll use these resume templates, write your rough draft. And then what we recommend is once you have a rough draft in hand, schedule a critique with us in career development, and we can help walk you through the process. Make sure you can go into your applications feeling confident and comfortable that the document you've worked so hard on is going to get you that interview. And then once you've gotten your critique done, you can finalize your resume content and submit it. It's important when you're drafting your resume to tailor it for the internship that you're interested in. This is true both for resumes and cover letters, and that's because, when people are looking at this document, employers want to feel seen just like anyone else, and it really helps if you're trying to hear back from an employer to really show that you are interested in that specific job and not just firing off a bunch of identical resumes to hundreds of jobs online. With that, you'll want to demonstrate skills that are relevant to the job that you actually want and are applying to. You can also use a neat trick to sort of work with some of the automated systems employers use these days by looking through the job posting and looking for synonyms, those keywords that match words that are already in your resume, and use the words from the job description so that you'll get keyword hits when an automated system reviews that document. It's also, I mentioned using a simple vertical text-based document. That's really important because it's very optimized for ATS systems, those automated systems that read resumes. I know a lot of us here are creative, visually oriented people. Unfortunately, computers aren't necessarily. And so a lot of times if folks are submitting resumes with images on them, especially, or non-text design elements, those can confuse a computer and potentially get a resume less likely to be seen by human eyes when it really should be. So it's important to sort of keep those documents simple, text-based, and easy to read, both for people and for computers. Cover letters. I get asked this a lot. Do I need to write a cover letter? Can I just send in the resume? And my answer is always yes, you should be sending it a cover letter. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I can assure you that once you have a really solid resume and cover letter draft that you feel confident about, it's really easy to take those two documents and use them as a basis for all of your future documents and just keep making copies, making edits, customizing them. It becomes much more of a streamlined process just the more you do it. But yes, you must write a cover letter unless you're explicitly told not to. So I would say think of a cover letter as something that you're going to be submitting alongside a resume by default. Occasionally, employers, most famously Amazon, doesn't like to see cover letters, and they'll tell you as much on their application page. Sometimes employers will say, just send me your resume. And in that case, totally fine. Just send them a resume. But if they don't mention it, be sure to send a cover letter because this is really where you let your personality show and where you provide additional context that sort of simplified information on your resume might not show. So you really want to be customizing your cover letter for each and every application that you submit. This is really important because that's how you sort of demonstrate that you've put some extra work beyond just looking at that job description. You really looked into the employer and you show them who you are beyond that resume document. You introduce yourself, talk about why you're interested in the position, talk about what they're looking for and how you meet those needs. And then typically what I'd recommend is submitting your cover letter just as a second PDF. Sometimes you'll submit it in the body text of an email, but I'd say PDF document alongside the resume will be your default. Again, you should always sort of by default plan on a resume and cover letter, but sometimes employers will have different instructions. And if so, they'll tell you exactly what they want. If an employer tells you something different, for that application, just do what the employer tells you to do. Something common you'll see is some folks will be like, combine your resume and cover letter into one document. Sure, you can do that. Some folks will ask you to answer a couple additional questions after the cover letter or instead of a cover letter. You just follow the instructions they gave you for that specific application if they do happen to give specific instructions. And then you sort of package yourself, right? So typically you'll arrange it with your cover letter first and your resume second. But when I say package yourself, I also mean create a simple visual brand. I know I just said take those visuals out of your document, and that's true. But you can still create a little simple brand like you see in these documents on the screen by just taking a header and using the same exact header with your contact information and your name and putting that on both documents in that same format. So even though it's still a very, very simple text-based document, you get a sense of visual brand identity that connects the two documents when they're viewed separately and is just sort of polished and nice looking. Sometimes an additional thing you'll be asked for, especially in the art and design world, is work samples. Something that a lot of people get nervous when they hear, because I know for a lot of us here at MassArt, that portfolio in your major is going to happen closer to the end of your program, usually in the senior year. That said, your work samples do not actually have to be your full professional artist portfolio that you're making in your professional practice class senior year. You can put together a work sample before that. It can be simple, it can be more involved. It's up to you. But really, what you're going for here, again, you'll always default to if the employer asks for something specific, you'll give that specific thing to them. But if they just say they want samples of your work, what you can default to is just anything that's online, publicly accessible, fairly visually simple, but you can upload and share specific images of artwork you've created or photos or videos of your process that really show who you are at a professional level, things that you feel demonstrate your skill set, but are also appropriate for employers to be looking at. So the best way to do that, I'd say, is typically to, perhaps use a Google Drive folder that's public or a simple professional website. You can use platforms like Behance or Wix, can even be something that's simple and free. But you just want it again to have images and video capabilities and be publicly accessible. Typically, you'll try to organize your work, prioritize things that are most relevant to the types of roles you're applying to, usually like 3 to 9 different projects. You really want to show your process whenever possible, use captions, and then you can send that to them however they request. Or if someone hasn't requested it specifically, but you do want them to know that you have work samples, you can include a shortened link to your work samples under the contact information in the header of your resume and cover letter, alongside your email address and things like that. Here's another tip for your portfolio. So you'll think about like year by year, the types of work that you have and are going to demonstrate might change. So I'll say default to what your faculty tell you also, because we're giving more of a general presentation here. And for your specific field, your faculty may have more tailored advice. But generally, for those of you in sophomore year, you're going to want to focus on demonstrating your basic skills, competencies, process work, sketchbook work, personal work as well, if it's relevant, represents you as an artist, and just focusing on what you have so far. And then once you get into your upperclassmen years, junior and senior, you'll want to add more of your versatile and advanced work, really try to focus on recent work from those years as much as possible, and then start going through and editing out work that you might feel is no longer representative of your current level of skill. Again, you want to be demonstrating those basic skills as well as technical skills, including process work, including sketchbook images when relevant, and a lot of times that can sort of help with your process demonstration. And then, if personal work is relevant, be sure to include that as well. So let's talk a little bit about the process for finding, applying to, and securing your internship. So this is something that you sort of drive yourself, right? This is not something that you're sort of forced to go through. It's something that you can and we hope should choose to do during your time here at MassArt. What I'd really encourage you to do is to plan your internship journey at least 2 semesters in advance of when you actually want to be doing the internship. But employers all have different deadlines. They're all posted at different times. It's important to know that we can't place you in an internship We can help you through the process, but you do have to find the internship, apply for it, interview it, and get the offer yourself, like you would with any job. With that, that does mean that employers at the end of the day are the ones who are driving what the application process is, what the deadlines are, what the pay is, and things like that. We have no control over that. We can only help you find the things, apply to them, and navigate the process of being in the workforce. So it's really worth just keeping a constant eye on things like Handshake and other job boards and looking out for internships that look cool to you. Even if it's not the time that you're ready to do an internship, just keep an eye out for what's available because when you are ready to start applying, then you'll know what sorts of things you want to actually be applying for and being considered for because again, they all have different deadlines, they all have different processes. Some internships hire months and months in advance. Some of them hire weeks or even days in advance. So you really want to be aware of both the deadlines that you have for credit, but also the deadlines and timelines that employers themselves have set. And you want to also just sort of look at those job descriptions thoroughly and understand what the employers are actually looking for in the field in which you want to work. What kinds of skills are they looking for? Do you have those skills? Are there things that you maybe want to build? Take an extra class to get a skill that's really commonly desired in your field. And just know also that a lot of the internships that you'll apply to will be things that are open to the public. Students from schools all over the country will be applying to those internships. And with that in mind, I really encourage folks to apply to things as early as possible. When you see an internship application go up for something that looks cool, apply for it as soon as possible after you see it and decide that you're interested in it. Because even if there's a deadline that's, a month or two in the future, the earlier you apply, the higher your name is going to be at the top of that list of applications they have to look at. So applying early will always help. That's not to say apply without taking the time to work, thoroughly on your application. You can always come into us. We can help you. Ask your friends to take a look, get a second set of eyes before you submit something. But I would not wait to apply to things that you see that look really cool because it's always going to help again to just go quick. So again, this is sort of a process that's self-driven, but we do have recommendations of when and how to be doing these things. So, if we're looking at a 3-semester schedule, let's say it's the fall semester, you start preparing and planning, searching and applying. In the spring, you're doing more searching and applying. You're interviewing, you're hopefully getting an offer, registering for credit. Then that summer, you do the internship, you do the work, you submit your questionnaires, you get reviewed by your supervisor, and you get the credit. So this is an important process to remember. If you want to take a picture of this, you can, or just write it down. But all of this information is also on our Handshake resource library. So here's a more detailed timeline for summer 2026. So you'll notice that at the top we have 2 branches, a competitive timeline and a standard timeline. Now, this isn't exactly science, but it's sort of what we've observed in that competitive internships are going to be things like national brand names, those brands that you grew up with, like Disney and Cartoon Network, or like the MoMA in New York, these brands in the art and design world that everybody knows about. Anyone who wants an internship might be looking at first. Those are going to be your competitive internships. Standard internships are going to be things that are maybe more regionally known, maybe smaller employers, things that, are still really great internships, but might not be those national big names that everyone who is getting a BFA is going to be wanting to apply to. So you'll see prepare. That's generally when you want to be sort of working on your resume, thinking about cover letters, doing some searching, looking for the types of things you want to apply to. And then the apply period is when you really want to be narrowing down your list of what you want to apply to, be checking those job boards every day, submitting applications, coming into career development to get feedback on your resumes and cover letters, all those things. You'll notice that registration opens March 23rd. That's going to be for summer 2026 internships. You can't register an internship until you've received an offer of employment from that internship. You've gone through the whole hiring process. But after March 23rd, once you have an internship offer in hand, you can begin the process of registering it for credit. It's important to note that we have Handshake as a resource to find internships. You do not have to find your internship through Handshake. You can find an internship anywhere jobs are found. You can find it on another online job board. You can find it off a poster that you see on your walk. You can find it through faculty, family, friends. Anywhere you might find a job normally, you can get an internship, but you will always register it for credit through a form in the Career Center section of Handshake. That said, I would encourage you to check Handshake first because we do, like I've mentioned before, curate it for our MassArt programs. So after registration opens, there's that first deadline. That's going to be for the $2,000 Internship Award. That will be May 22nd of this year. And then that final deadline, the sort of drop dead deadline for internship credit is going to be June 15th, 2026. I know it says 2025 on there. That is a typo. It is June 15th, 2026 to register your internship for credit. The semester for summer officially begins June 1st. Midterm evaluations will be due July 17th and finals due August 21st. Don't worry too much about those evaluations. Essentially, what those are is you, your faculty, your supervisors will all get surveys. We'll just sort of ask for feedback about how your internship is going, and that helps us understand the progress that you're making on your sort of professional educational journey. And then that summer semester will officially end August 28th, 2026. And all of this information is, again, also available in our Handshake resource library. So be sure to check there if you need a reminder. So again, how we can help you. We're available as much or as little as you need us. We're available all throughout your time here at MassArt, including over the summer and over a lot of breaks and holidays as well. But we are also available indefinitely after you graduate. We serve our alums as well as our students. We serve grad students as well. We do things like one-on-one appointments with our staff, including myself and our director, Rebecca Wright. You can also meet with our grad assistants. You can also meet with our career peer advisors who offer drop-in hours for resume review. So they offer those one-on-one critiques as well. We can do, again, just general advising for the career jobs internship process. We can do more specialized critiques for things like your resume, your cover letter. We can also help you prepare for job interviews, things like that too. We offer curated job and internship listings on Handshake. Like we've been talking about, we do have our internship program. We host workshops throughout the year, including an upcoming career fair, which we'll touch about in a minute. And then we also sometimes have employers come to campus and they'll review people's portfolios and work samples and offer feedback from an employer perspective. Like I mentioned, you can get your internship any number of places. So just for context, while about 26% of our students did find their internship through Handshake, actually even more folks found it just through networking, through faculty, friends, alumni, family. Some folks found theirs through other job boards. Some people just looked things up online themselves and found the internship they were looking for. So it's important to remember that there's a ton of ways you can get an internship. Don't box yourself in. Just put yourself out there and look for the internships because there's so many places that you can find them. But like I said, Handshake is a good place to start. You can use keyword search. They offer full job descriptions. You can also save searches that are really helpful that sort of target your job of choice. And those searches will then send you an email every time a new job is posted that meets the requirements you're looking for. So you don't have to necessarily check back every single day. We do encourage you to apply early and apply often as much as possible. To a certain extent, it is a numbers game. The more you apply to internships, the likelier it is that you'll find one. Again, it's important to note that, every internship that's listed is something that, oftentimes people at other schools are going to be seeing and also applying to. So that's, again, why it's important to apply early and apply often. So I also wanted to point out, and if you have your phone on you, you can scan this QR code, but we have a list on our MassArt Career Development Resource Library that is on Handshake that this QR will take you to. We have a list of where all of our MassArt students have interned before in the past few years, sorted by major. This is really helpful because when you're looking for places, if you run into almost like writer's block, you can't think of where to look for your internship, check out your major and related majors on this list and you might find a place. And this is helpful because these are all employers that you know for a fact appreciate the education you're getting here at MassArt. They have hired MassArt talent before. They're familiar with the institution. And that means that statistically, they're more likely to hire you. It's a good place to start. Beyond Handshake, there's also a bunch of other online job boards that are worth checking out. Indeed.com is just sort of your general standard job board that has a little bit of everything. Higherculture.org is a Massachusetts specific job board that focuses on arts and culture related employment in Massachusetts. I'd also encourage you all to think about professional associations. For the vast majority of careers across all kinds of fields, people have associations of other folks in that career. They usually have a website. If you search the type of job you want plus association plus Massachusetts, you'll usually find one. And a lot of times they do have free job boards online with jobs you might not find anywhere else. You can also use resources outside Handshake to research various companies and organizations. I always encourage folks to do a little background research. If you're interested in working somewhere, look at their website, look at LinkedIn, look up what they say they're about, look up who works there, what they seem to be about, and if they have experience that sort of speaks to you. That's a great way to find companies and specific people who can provide you that mentorship to get into the type of career path you want to be in. You can also network. I know networking is sort of a vague term that gets thrown around a lot, but I think it can be a little easier than people sometimes realize. A lot of times it's just talking to your family, your friends, your faculty, talk to professionals who visit your class, talk to MassArt alumni through the alumni network. You can meet new people by attending a career fair. You could do a portfolio review. Um, but it's also important to remember that, like, folks will sometimes tell you, oh, go to a networking event, do an informational interview. A lot of times that can be as easy as finding someone whose work inspires you and sending them a brief email message asking if they would have availability for a short phone call, Zoom call, a coffee meeting, something that is sort of easy for both of you to do and where you can ask someone questions about their work that interests you. It really is a skill that you can build up the more you do it, but it's really helpful for meeting connections, making friends even, and finding jobs. I mentioned the career fair before. It is coming up. The exciting thing about our Spring 2026 career fair is that for the first time in a few years, we're going to have it in person on campus. It's going to be on March 18th, 2026 in the DMC atrium from 1 to 3 p.m. If you haven't been to an in-person career fair before, it's kind of like convention style where all the employers will each have a table where they'll be sitting and ready to chat with people. Some of them might have giveaways or informational flyers about the work they do. And you'll be able to just walk around to each table, chat face to face casually with employers, no scheduling needed, and just get more information about what they do, what sorts of jobs or internships they hire for, when they might be hiring. It's just a really helpful way to learn more about the kinds of jobs and employers that are out there in the creative art and design world. And again, this is for both internships and entry-level jobs. There's not going to be any portfolio reviews, but you also don't need to schedule anything. You just show up and find interesting people to talk to. So going back to internship awards. $2,000 internship award is a need-based award. It's available for any internship that you register for credit, fall, spring, or summer. You do need to have a current FAFSA on file. Both unpaid and paid internships do qualify for the award. And all undergraduate students are eligible, again, as long as you apply by the deadline and have a FAFSA on file. It's automatic consideration, no additional application. They're formally announced for the summer in the spring, and the recipients will be selected in June. So while you might get the award while you're already doing the internship, this award will sort of help offset the overall costs incurred when you do an internship. You know, anything from housing, commuting, meals, things like that. It's just generally a way we're able to help out our students who do internships with a little extra financial aid. So it's really worth applying by that additional deadline because, again, it's potential free money. So we're going to have a brief intermission. I know I've been talking a lot, so if you want to take a break, grab another cookie, and then in a couple minutes, we'll open it up to a Q&A.
Shaking my butt, shaking my butt. But Sophia said, no, they're not, yeah, they know something. Yeah, no problem. I'm sure they can hold it. Because that's the thing is you can anyway, like I want her to pass, you know, she's been. I definitely forget. You didn't see it in your. No, both of us in there. Let's all. Let's all go for your parent. Yeah. And to engage. That is right where I'm saying. Tell them to walk in the job. Especially we're kind of. I would have been so, I would have been like, apply for that, apply for the. You should get out.
All right, it looks like everyone had a chance to grab some cookies. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to open it up in a moment, but I also just wanted to let you know that in addition to our career fair, we have coming up on March 11th, we're going to have a mock networking event where we're going to have mocktails and students will have the opportunity to practice networking. You know, if you're a little nervous about the idea of networking at the career fair, this will be sort of a fun, low pressure way to get that networking practice beforehand and get some free mocktails while you're at it. Also worth checking out signups on Handshake for we're going to have a internship panel later on. I think this month we're going to have folks come in who have done internships recently, and they're going to do sort of a structured Q&A where they'll talk about not just the internships that they did, but also how they got their internships, how they found them, how they applied, and what it was like to do them. They'll be able to answer questions from their peers while they're there. So opening it up to questions, if anyone's in the Zoom room, you can put questions in the chat. And for anyone here, you can just raise your hand. I also have our contact information on the screen. But yes.
I was wondering, are the credits only for electives, or do they also count for academic elective credit? Like if we wanted like to take a course that involved a lot of English or writing, could that count towards our English requirement?
So these are, I believe, just going to be like, yeah, they're going to be standard elective credits. Yeah, so for those in the Zoom room, Rebecca was just clarifying that these are going to be more standard elective credits that will count towards your major or your minor as they're relevant. Other questions? I saw some other hands. Yes.
What are they looking, what would make you more likely to succeed in that? So, what happens is all the students who have registered an internship this past fall, this current spring semester, and then for summer, that the list of the students are sent to financial aid. Financial aid reviews that. They're looking at information from the FAFSA. They have other ways to kind of rank, if you'll get the award, like if you received the award last summer, you might be less likely, but you still can get the award again. So, so there's different ones, but it is primarily need-based. And they just kind of bring it. I'd probably say the biggest reason for students not getting it is they don't have a FAFSA on file by May 22nd. So I would probably just remember that, as well as doing the internship. Even if you don't usually do the FAFSA, I would submit that is what they reference for that. But they do kind of bring things like, if you had the those before, they try and spread it out for all majors, so it's not just one major taking it. So it's mostly distributed for fairness. I should add that this year we got, I feel like it's like almost like 40% more money than we had last year. So we have a lot. So I would probably just say, like, you know, definitely do an internship, apply for credit. We're going to try and give out as much money as possible. Make sure you have a FAFSA. And then for international students who don't do a FAFSA, we do have a separate form, and we will be contacting you to do that form. But it has an equivalent to a FAFSA, so you're in consideration as well.
Yes.
For us, for internship, would it be the FAFSA that's for 25, 26, or 26, 27?
I believe financially can confirm this, but I believe it's for 20, it would be for 26, 27, and then for spring and fall, it would be 25, 26.
Okay.
Yes.
How many scholarships are available? So we typically give out about 40. In past years, we actually haven't been able to use all the money because we haven't had enough students doing internships. So we want more of you to do internships. This year, it could be 40 to 80 awards. So go get your internship.
So that's a really good reason to apply for your internship, get it, and apply for credit early. Other questions? I saw some other hands. Yes, in the back there.
But it looks like temporary positions because they have like deliverables. Is that still considered an internship if it's written down as a job, or is that for? Sorry, can we still get credit if on Handshake it's listed as a job?
So on Handshake specifically, because we're sort of curating and sorting that job board, I would really focus on things listed as internships. On Handshake, those are going to be your best bet for internship credit. And more generally, I would say you want to focus on things that are sort of explicitly advertised as internships rather than freelance or temporary contract roles. You're going to want things that are advertised as internships because those will be more likely to have that element of education and mentorship rather than just simply work. Yes.
Registering your internship for credit, where would you find the forms for that and needs to fill them out?
That's a great question. So the forms, whether you find your internship on Handshake or anywhere else jobs are found, the form it's a online form that you fill out on Handshake. So you'll go into Handshake and under Career Center, that's in that sort of main menu on the left side of your Handshake screen. You'll go under Career Center and there will be something that says Experiences. So in Handshake, your internship is called an experience. You'll click on experiences. There will be a button that says add experience, and then that will take you to a form that asks you all the questions we need to know. You will fill out that form. You just need to have the name of your internship supervisor and the name of a faculty member who will be your faculty advisor. And also just note, if you go in, you're looking at that form and you have any questions or you just want a second set of eyes with you as you're filling it out, feel free to schedule an appointment or drop into career development. We're always happy to sort of walk you through the process if you need help with it. Yes.
I have a board, right, for it.
Yes, there is, or at least there will be, as the employers, they're currently in the process of registering. And you'll be able to view them not only on Handshake, but we will also have a document that, as more of the employers sign up, will be shared publicly with everyone who's registered for the fair. That will include a list of all the employers who are coming. It will include descriptions of the employers, the work they do, the types of roles they're hiring from, and whether or not they have alumni working there. Really, all the information you might possibly need to know about an employer will be sort of shared with you once you're registered. It is free to register for the fair, so I'd encourage you to register in advance, and that will help you get that information about what employers are going to be coming once they're signed up. Yes.
Is there a way to connect with alumni, ask questions if they maybe had a certain internship that you're interested in?
Yeah, I believe so, through alumni relations, right?
If, so if there's someone who, or if you, like, if you're looking at where students have interned before, if you are curious about talking to that person who had that internship, you can let us know. Whenever a student does an internship for credit, they do an evaluation, and part of that is a review of their experience that we have permission to share with students, but we do also help connect a lot to talk to them as well. We don't have online just because we don't seem to have, we couldn't figure out a system to share this, but we do have, public things off the hall, which you can share.
Yes.
When it comes to creating portfolios, is it more common for employers to do website-based portfolios rather than documentation, or does it matter how portfolios are created?
In a lot of cases, it's kind of up to you in terms of what you think is best. Now, similarly with the format in which you submit your application, I would say if an employer gives you explicit instructions about what they want, go with that. So if you're applying to a job and they say, please submit your samples of work as a single PDF document, or they say, please give us a link to your website with your samples of work, whatever they say, that's what you should do. If you want to submit samples of work or they tell you to, but they don't tell you how to do it, then just assume it's sort of up to you to use your sort of preferences and best judgment to pick a method of sharing those. And I'd say lots of different things can work. The important thing is that you're able to both show your sort of professional samples of work and your process, and that it really highlights those images or videos of your work, and that it's, sort of a clean professional format that, is presentable for employers. Yeah. And so we're happy to provide more specific feedback as you come across instances where you want to do that. And I'd also encourage you, especially with portfolios, to talk to your faculty, because they might be able to advise you better on what's standard in your specific industry. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, back there.
So if I wanted to do a summer internship, try to do one this summer now and apply it sometime soon, or is that?
Okay, so it really depends on the employer. So like I said, when they post it is completely up to the employer. Some internships for this upcoming summer were posted months ago, last semester. That said, there will continue to be internships for this upcoming summer posted through this semester, including all the way up to the start of the summer semester. I would say generally the really competitive internships, those high profile ones, your Disney internships, Cartoon Network, MoMA, New York City, those things are going to be posted generally earlier in the year, probably, the fall semester, early spring. Those are when you're going to see a lot of those bigger name competitive internships. And then the rest of the internships, it can really vary throughout the year. But really what I'm trying to encourage you to do with those, semester advice is to keep an eye on internship postings, because new things are posted not just on Handshake, but everywhere, every single day. And you want to just sort of generally be keeping an eye on things as much as possible so that you don't miss when your dream internship is posted and you can apply to it quickly. Yes.
I know you mentioned it briefly, but I'm a little bit concerned about, not concerned, confused with the wording. If you were to sign up for a summer internship and to get credits for it, and you're not taking summer classes, do you have to pay for it to get the credits?
No, so it's no additional charge for summer. The idea is like your billing, if it's during the year, will be identical to if you were just taking a full load of classes. And if it's over the summer, there will be no billing as if you weren't taking classes, but you'll still get the credit. So the yes.
So. And kind of full-time versus part, so it's just bundled into your tuition, there's no extra fee. So you won't see anything with this.
I saw on that QR code that you sent that it only has the majors listed that club internet. You guys also have a list of where minors or like, is it not common for people to intern for their minors?
It's not that common because minors are fairly new at MassArt. I know that it's starting to like pick up some interest, and I know some minors are kind of encouraging students, but it is still very. What's your minor?
Business.
That's the newest one. That's
Yeah.
national history.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, you could be the first.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
But I'll also say if you see internships on there that someone did outside your major, that doesn't mean you can't apply to that. You know, generally you'll want it to hopefully be something that's relevant to either your major or your minor. But just because someone in one major did an internship at a certain employer, that doesn't mean because your major is different, you can't, because, you know, there's a lot of different relevant skills across disciplines. And also a lot of employers hire people across various disciplines. Like TJX is locally headquartered. They hire a ton of MassArt talent for internships. And that can span all kinds of disciplines, including, you know, folks who do illustration or communications or fashion design or certainly business. So, you know, it's just worth looking at anything that looks interesting to you and looking for relevant work. Any other questions? Yes.
That you can still receive credit even if it's technically like an internship that's like outside of your majors, or does that end up like?
Yeah, you can get credit for an internship in your minor, but you do need a faculty member in your minor who did have to sign off.
Because I'm thinking like in the sense that like, let's say I'm an illustration, if I want to take an internship, but it's under graphic communications, but I couldn't receive any credit for that because it's outside of the major, or.
So this is a situation where like the internships themselves, because they're, you know, managed by employers, they don't have necessarily majors officially attached to them. So more so, you just want to be thinking about, you know, you'll write about how when you apply for credit, you'll write about how the internship relates to your major or your minor. And you just want to think about how you will describe that relationship. And then it will sort of be between your description of its relationship to your academics and a faculty's discretion to take that into account and decide whether it makes sense to give you academic credit. So, yeah. Anyone else with questions? We have another one over here? No. Anyone else? Well, if there's no more questions, if anything comes up, our contact information is on the screen. We're also located in the Kennedy building directly above the Starbucks, so feel free to drop in if something urgent comes up. We're always here to help with your career internship needs. Thank you so much for coming today. And again, feel free to find us afterwards or send us an email or schedule an appointment if there's any other way we can help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please take more cookies on your way out.
So did you get some? Making sure.
Yeah, I got one. And I will take more.
Yeah.